Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason. Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of Tight Pants Society.
No fucking play is that a gimme, right?
We roll into another edition of Gas, maybe the hottest handicappers on the planet. We will get to that a little bit later on, but I know we've got we have some Patriots to peel through, some playoff pictures, big injuries that are going to shake the playoff structure. Good morning, Jason Anik. How are you?
Oh, Andy Gresh, great. You know, we were going to talk yesterday, I believe, and you left me one of the funniest voicemails ever. And I'll just say I lost my voice a little bit at Universal Studios. I'll get into that in a minute. But Cody, Gresh left me the funniest voicemail ever. I think I've listened to it like 6 times now. And one of the takeaways was, so he leaves me this voicemail, and then in the second half of the voicemail, he pretends to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. And one of the lines was, I think, no rush to call Gresh. Was it no rush to call back Gresh?
There was my father say from beyond, no rush to call Gresh back.
And it was just hearing Gresh say Gresh in the Khabib accent was amazing. But Gresh, so I went to Universal Studios for my daughter's 9th birthday.
Oh, my.
So I'll tell you about my experience watching the Patriots game. But I'm just going to say, when I was a kid, I was too soft to go on roller coasters, right? Like I just wouldn't go. I was too afraid, right? But I have 2 daughters and a wife who absolutely can't get enough of it, right? So literally, I'm like going on these roller coasters, like screaming to and losing my voice in order to get it out of me. Bro, I refuse not to go because my daughters are going, even though I don't know how much I like it. I think I went on the scariest roller coaster of my life at this new Universal Park, Epic Universe. Things going 62 miles an hour. I got my 9-year-old to my right, and the thing finishes, and my 9-year-old, she just turned 9. And I'm looking at her, and I can tell she could cry if she wanted to lean into it, but she leans into the fun, so she loved it. But dude, so anyway, that was anything on that before I talk about my experience watching the Patriots game.
Well, at first it sounded like a seventh circle of hell to be with children at an amusement park, right? So we did Disney one time. Our boys hated it. Thank God. My wife and I were like, yes, we'll bring them to UFC as they grow up later instead of having to go to Disney World, 1,000 times whenever they're kids. I love roller coasters. The problem is I don't fit on them. Like in all seriousness, like they'll do the thing and it'll be like, they put it over your shoulders and I'll be like, is this thing locked? Because I've seen those videos of fat people flying off, or even just, like teenage girls flying off these things. But I love roller coasters. I would have been all over it all day long, as long as it's not like too spinny. Did you ever see that one? They had it at the old Six Flags up here in New England, where it just spins you around. That one, I when I was 20, I could deal with it. At 51, hell no.
Oh, I can't do it. And so we went on this one roller coaster. I think it was called Stardust Galaxy or something, right?
Sounds cool.
It was insane. At the end of it, I legitimately was like a little nauseous, a little dizzy, but like somewhat proud of myself for going on it. But I will say, I didn't even realize that I was going to be there for an NFL Sunday. And then I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're going like double parks on an NFL Sunday. But the fascinating thing to me are these Disney adults. And I say it with the utmost respect. All you Star Wars fans and everybody likes their own shit. I like the NFL. But these Disney adults, Gresh, are fascinating. I feel as though there are more adults at these parks than kids. It's unbelievable. You got dudes with Universal Studios tattoo on their right calf, Disney Magic Kingdom on their left calf, just all about it. All these Harry Potter t-shirts everywhere. And I like the rides, right? But I'm just fascinated by the Disney adults. I say, you see some people walking around with NFL jerseys, and I'm like, what are you guys doing here on Sunday? If you're, anyway, I could go on and on, but the Disney adults.
No, but let me take it a step further. All right. And I will text you the name, or I'll put it in the private chat so you know who I'm talking about. But if I'm not, because I know they're divorced now, but if I'm not mistaken, there is a current major sport play-by-play guy who I think might have gotten wrapped up with a lady who got him into one of these like Disney weddings. I don't know if you ever heard of this, where you can like pick your Disney wedding and be the princess you've always dreamed of, and then there's like some hard up Prince Charming standing at the end of that aisle waiting for you to walk down as a Disney princess. I know they do the wedding things, but I do believe, I do believe I know someone who actually did that. I don't know where to go from there.
Well, so I'll tell you where to go. So whatever. So I'm walking around the park, and then thank God for 2025, right? And the ability, and NFL Plus, the ability for me to watch this football game in line, waiting on these rides. So I caught bits and pieces of the Patriots game. And gosh, when they went up 21-0 and Cody sent an emoji and I tweeted into our group chat, wagon, right? Certainly didn't go on X like Dave Portnoy and proclaim that this is the greatest team of all time.
Yeah.
There's a lot to get to in terms of this game. And what I'll say quickly, Gresh, about my experience watching this game was that I'm walking around the park and like the Patriots are rolling. I'm like going crazy. And then as you check your phone, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I know we're going to get into it more in topic 2, but for me, what sticks out is the way in which they lost, being up 21-0. I didn't expect them to win this game, but to lose it in that fashion is like, eesh.
This was the first game where not having Milton Williams really stood out to me. And they had, meaning the Patriots, pronouns, pal, they had no ability to split double teams to protect linebackers. And then they don't have Spillane. And, I go in and out on loving Spillane. There's some times where I really like the guy. And then there's sometimes where I'm like, can they just go draft themselves a good second level player? It feels like they haven't done that in a while, really since probably Gerard Mayo, where you had a 3-down linebacker that you could leave on the field. So that didn't help. But I really think this was both sides of the line of scrimmage lost it really in the second half. And when I went back through and watched, Jay, it was great to have the 56-yard run from Henderson to the house, right? That was a great explosive play. It didn't help the defense at all. It gave them more points on the board, but in terms of trying to stop Buffalo,
great point.
Little adjustments, guys are gassed. You're right back out there. I mean, I think New England had the ball. I think it was 7 minutes in the second half or something like that. So you're gassing out a defense that has already been picked through. And to me, it was both lines of scrimmage, because the O-line really regressed first half to second half as well.
Well, and some of the numbers in the first half, a lot of big plays can maybe swell those numbers a little bit. But, when you're going into the locker room at halftime, I mean, are the T-shirts and the hats, can anyone see these fucking things? You know what I mean? Like a lot of talk about this T-shirt and hat game. And we will talk about how it spins forward, but I'm with you. Will Campbell, Milton Williams, these injuries starting to sort of have an effect. And Buffalo's been prone to giving up the big play to the outside, big rushes all season long. I think this game says more about Buffalo than it does about New England. We talked about New England maybe being a year away. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe they are a contender. I felt as if they really were going to do something. They sort of needed that 1 seed. I think it's going to be a very difficult trek through the AFC postseason, but I think they can erase the taste in their mouths and ours with a win at Baltimore Sunday night.
Well, not only that, but Jay, I think that in terms of moving forward with this team, we thought maybe they could skip a step, right? That's sort of what you were referring to. Like all of a sudden you're on the scene, you win the division, and maybe you get to an AFC title game. That gives you a chance to go into the Super Bowl. Now I think it's kind of a reminder that this group they've grown a lot during the regular season, but they need some playoff growth as well. A wild card win and a tough divisional round game, win or lose, I think sort of hardens you at least a little bit. Those are the kind of steps this group now needs to take. They're not special enough that they're going to be able to skip steps, so to speak, and dominate and play well the way they have in the regular season in the playoffs. I like what you said about the Bills, because I think you're right. It showed, there's what's the old line that the kids now use? Remind people who the fuck you are. I think that's kind of what the Bills did, right? And I hate saying that, but they 5 straight drives where they go and score. It's like, okay, we're kind of reminding you who we are. And it was a little more than Josh Allen. Cook played very well in that game, and I thought he was a slippery tackle. Patriots could have done better tackling. I know that Vrabel mentioned that on Monday, but yeah, that was a hey, don't forget about us moment from the Bills.
I agree. And Cody, you could throw the topics up there. I know it was hard not to jump right into the Patriots, and we'll get into Sean McDermott. I got some thoughts on him. We'll get back to the Patriots game quickly. But Gresh, what I will say as we move into the topics here, I don't have time for college football, right? It's UFC, it's NFL, it's NBA, it's regular season college football. Unless the Boston College Eagles want to do something, I don't have a ton of time for it. So I guess for me, this 12-team playoff does pique my interest. I know you have a different knowledge base for college football than I do, but certainly makes this weekend exciting coming up.
One of the things that's really irking me, and I know Joel Klatt kind of stepped into it a little bit, is the thought of, we don't have the 12 best teams. We're allowing a G5 team to get in. Tulane makes their way in from the American. Basically, this guy wants to separate Power 4 and everybody else. Jay, can I ask you a question? What's one of the first things you think of for the NCAA men's basketball tournament that makes it so attractive to fans?
Cinderella.
There you go. So I know that we have James Madison, who's probably going to get pumped by Oregon, but you know what? If it goes the other way, then we have the element of Cinderella for the first time in this tournament. And I think, Jay, we got to remind ourselves, it's only the second year of this stupid playoff. They're going to expand it to 16 next year. But the Cinderella element of it, you can't tell me that it can't be done because it's been done. Remember, what was it, half a decade ago? Oh, a 16 will never beat a 1. Then a 16 beat a 1. And we didn't say, let's completely reformat the NCAA tournament. This is shit. Now we have people that are kind of preemptively who are jumping ahead and being like, no, this is going to be shitty. Oregon might roll. But until we get the first real big upset in the playoff, we're not going to be able to romanticize about it the way we do in the NCAA tournament. And it really irks me that people can't just flip to that side of their brain.
Yeah, I agree. And, I always said when it was a two-team race, right, when they just created the national championship game and then it went to 4, that I wasn't going to feel sorry for Team 13, that I wasn't going to allow myself to do that. So whatever mess with Notre Dame, I just don't care.
Me too.
Period. But
join a league, and they're mad at the ACC because the ACC didn't defend them, and they defended a full-fledged member. Well, yeah, that's what they should do. It's insane. Before we go too deep, let me just give some picks because I know I want to get back to the Patriots, and I think you do as well. I'm going Oklahoma plus 1.5 over Alabama. I think Oklahoma's got a great chance to win the game. Healthy, quarterback's going to be upright. Alabama's flawed, and I think their coach is a part of it. And there's been a whole bunch of junk swirling about him maybe going to Michigan or something like that. Give me Texas A&M all day long against Miami. I have no respect for the U. They have great talent, but every year I hear about, they got great talent at the U, great talent at the U. And then what do? They lose in a big moment. So give me Texas A&M. I'm going Tulane plus 17.5. This is a disrespectful number, I think. And Ole Miss, CJ, this is the danger for me in Ole Miss. It's either going to be Lane isn't here, it gets tough, and they eke their way to a win, or it's hellfire and brimstone. Everybody's coming out, flipping the finger at Lane Kiffin, and they blow doors. This is the game I wouldn't touch, but if you're giving me 17.5, I want that. I want that number. And then I'll lay the 21 at Oregon. For as much as I was chirping people who were hating the thought of an upset, I'll wait to get burned the first time and then start to factor in handicapping a little differently.
Yeah, and when you look at that 12-5 seed, it is not the NCAA basketball tournament.
Correct. I mean, if James Madison pulls the upset, it's a 16 beating a 1 in the men's basketball. So anyway, that's what I got there. I don't know if you had anything else. Notre Dame can go F themselves. You know, there was a sports writer from the Providence Journal who's now dead. He was a Notre Dame guy.
Wow.
And just such an asshole. Oh my God. Like I really couldn't. The Notre Dame people, we're very erudite, you see. We look down upon everyone else because we're the Domers. We have our own TV deal with NBC, and then we cry like a bunch of bitches when we don't get into the playoff because we want to maintain our full independence as Notre Dame University and not join a league like everyone else. We would rather be closer to we'd rather be closer to UConn than Alabama.
Dude, well, and I'll say, you know, you asked me if I have anything, and right off the heels of the Notre Dame conversation, I live in Miami. A lot of the dirty boxing brass are University of Miami fans. Brendan Tobin, who's the play-by-play guy for dirty boxing, who I work with, massive fan of the U, does local radio down here. So yes, I'll be rooting hard for the U. And speaking of dirty boxing real quick, they just posted today, but January 30th, Houston, H-Town, we're coming. That'll be the third location so far. And then February 27th, Nashville, Tennessee. So we're trying to do one event a month in 2026 with Dirty Boxing. So schedules should start to get busy. I'm excited about that.
Bro, I love it. I'm geeked. We, in my house, we always need more stuff to watch from the combat sports perspective. And how about that? So Houston and then Nashville. Oh boy.
Yeah. Love it.
I've been to Houston. There's like 3 cities within Houston. Like going through. No, yeah, there's like the proper downtown, and then there's like a business district, and then there's the area where all the strip clubs are.
So what sticks out to me, right? It's like DBX5, DBX6, and that's like, I remember DBX1, right? And here we go. So I'm excited, and it's just really entertaining to watch. But anyway, New England sports. Let's get back to the Patriots because I got a lot to say here. So
what was your biggest takeaway of the loss? Like what was the one thing that maybe really stood out to you after you got eyes on being able to watch that game after almost barfing on roller coasters?
So I guess ultimately my takeaway is sort of what Vrabel said. I love how Vrabel compartmentalizes everything and puts everything in its proper perspective, and talking about the loss, doing something, unless you do something from the loss, it's not like, oh, it's a good loss. And he sort of acknowledged that cliche. And so what I will say is I think the opportunity that the loss creates, and I brought up on another show or this program, my wife and I were talking about 10 days ago, and I was just telling her, I was like, the Patriots are one of the best teams in football. Like they've won 10 in a row. And she said to me, well, the best Patriots teams never win the Super Bowl. And that was really very true about the Brady era, right? It's like when they go 16-0, they're not winning the Super Bowl. Some of the best Patriots teams didn't win Super Bowls in that 10-year drought. So I thought that was an interesting takeaway. But I do believe if you lose this game to Buffalo as you did, and then you go to Baltimore and win, Lamar Jackson looked as healthy as ever last week. I think you give yourself an opportunity to really have it help you, and the Patriots are a better all-around football team than the Ravens, in my opinion, if you look at the body of work. I'm not suggesting I like them this weekend necessarily on Sunday night, but I do think so to me, my takeaway is the opportunity that it presents, because I do believe they needed to get smacked in the mouth if they were going to have any chance to sort of rise again.
Well, Jay, remember you and I, and it's been something that I've been harping on. There's going to be a clunker. Right? Every team, as good as you are, they have a clunker. Maybe this was it. It just came up in the form of a half of football versus a full, game where they really kind of tank it and completely crap themselves. And I think there are some real lessons to be learned. I also think one of them is let's not blitz Drake May. And I had these numbers from the Bills going in where the Bills had only rushed 5 people, I think it was like 22% of the time they went above 4 rushers. And one of the things that's been standing out is Drake May just against 4 rushers or different shifting combo coverages. And I think a couple games that I went to earlier in the year, say they showed zone and rolled the man, or more the other way, showed man and rolled the zone, That's where the kid was kind of running early in the year. Now these teams are going to force him to read those defenses. They're going to force him because they loaded up against the run, made sure to take the run away in the second half. You're going to force the kid to have to read defenses. I think Cincinnati did that in the second half where they didn't bring the extra rusher. And I'm talking about against New England now in terms of trying to make it tough on them.
Yep.
And then the Bills kind of played that way. So I'm expecting now maybe people aren't going to rush the kid with the fifth rusher as much. And it's going to be, we're going to stand back there and make you think. So this is kind of the next evolution of Drake May. I'll tell you one thing that I did love, Jay. That first touchdown run, zone read, there goes the kid around the corner. You want to make it easier around the goal line to run the ball? Have the kid be a part of the run game. And it's time to do that now. Even though he can take a shot, he's a grown-up. He done played a bunch of games last year. He's played a bunch this year. The training wheels are off. Now it's time to play the contact as well, and that includes getting him involved in the run game. And they're going to need it a little bit to open these defenses up if everybody kind of lays back.
I agree. And I know we're obviously going to come at a lot of this from a Patriots angle, but as you were talking about the Bills earlier, who are far and away the best second half football team in the NFL this season.
Yep.
We like to criticize Sean McDermott. Certainly he deserves some credit in their ability to make adjustments. And I do believe a Bills franchise and a Bills team that is desperate for that championship, the ability to know that you're in a football game when you're down 21-0 is huge for that team. And even when they were down against the Bengals, down 10 points, and they flipped that script 2 weeks prior, the Philadelphia Eagles were up 21-0 against the Dallas Cowboys, I think Thanksgiving, or if that was the right game, and Dallas comes back and wins. So this league, 21-0, 3 scores, kind of is what it is. But I think for the Patriots to have a sort of really bad loss is a good thing. But I think, yes, as I said earlier, more about the Bills. I know we're going to talk about picks, and we might get into this week coming up. But do you like the Pats as a 3-point dog?
I don't like the spot. No. I think they're losing this weekend. I hate to say it.
I do too.
Because Milton Williams is a week away. So you're going to get Big Milton back against the Jets, and then the Dolphins, who are trying to transform themselves into a running team as their corpse is rotting, as they're trying to still, walk amongst us. They're becoming a zombie football team. But no, I don't like the matchup this week. I don't like trying to stop Derrick Henry off a bye week. It just lines up. If Milton Williams is in there, I'm probably picking New England. But Big Milt's still a week away, so I don't know how they fix their defensive run game issues without getting, Big Milton back.
And for those that watched the Ravens last week at Cincinnati, apparently Lamar Jackson looked as healthy as he's looked all season. That doesn't bode well for the Patriots. They're certainly not getting the Ravens at a good time. Ravens probably eliminated with a loss. I should have checked that before bringing it to the show. But, Ravens have everything to play for here. But I do believe the Patriots, while their schedule was bad, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, then you get up against the Bills and look what happens. Well, it wasn't as if they weren't in that football game against the Bills, despite having an atrocious half. But I do think that spot against the Ravens, the Patriots could sort of show people that they are what their record says they are, right? And that so it's not going to surprise me if the Patriots go in there and are able to sort of rally. But I do believe they're a little too banged up. As they got banged up, I think we looked at this schedule and said that probably if they win one of these two, Buffalo, Baltimore, we'd be happy. So, and ultimately, they're in great position to win the division if they lose at Baltimore and handle their business in the last two.
I would also say there's a theory that some people espouse in the NFL who say, sometimes you just go with the more desperate team. And Baltimore is a desperate football team right now with talent, and they're coming off a bye. Like, there's a lot of convergence.
When you kept saying coming off a bye, what am I missing?
Didn't the Ravens have last week off, or did
Nobody did. Nobody did.
Oh, no, they whooped up on the Bengals 24-0.
Might as well have been a bye.
Again, desperate. They did whoop up on them. Sorry about that. But yeah, they got their record to 7-7. So Henry only had, Henry had 11 carries last week for 100 yards. Lamar only threw the ball 12 times. Oh my God, you're so right.
And the Bengals had 40 minutes of possession time. And I was talking about if they're eliminated. Certainly they're not eliminated. Their record's going to be the same as the Steelers if the Steelers can't go in and beat Detroit. I actually think the Steelers are live in that spot. But it is really interesting the way that division shakes. The AFC postseason is just going to be absolutely fascinating, Gresh. And, that division with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, that division is only getting one team. Right. And the rest, you're going to have to win 11, 12 games to get it.
Yeah. When you look in the North right now, it's Pittsburgh at 8-6. And then Baltimore's 9th in the stack at 7-7. And then the next, Cincinnati is out of it now. They got double-digit losses. It's not going to happen for them. And talk about a team with some really tough decisions to make. Now the quarterback mentioned about, it ain't fun. Uh-oh. Look out. Maybe Joe Burrow's going to be available. But you're right. It's one of those teams that are going to battle it out. And I just pulled up Pittsburgh's schedule. Pittsburgh, Baltimore last week of the year.
Yep. Great chances for the division.
It's like the schedule makers knew. Pittsburgh, as you mentioned, Detroit, and then they get Cleveland, Cleveland's pretty much, I think, rolled over and sort of accepted their fate for the rest of the year. Yeah, I don't know why I had Baltimore hung up there on the bye.
So last week, and forgive me, I'm not really trying to throw you under the bus. I'm rather trying to sort of get a conversation going here. So last week, your top story was sort of down the AFC down to the final two, New England and Denver. Now, obviously, I know you don't feel that way as we sit here today. So, when I look at the AFC, I really do believe as the postseason is creeping upon us that almost all of these matchups really could be pick'em games. I don't like too many of the matchups for the Patriots in this AFC postseason, but if you're asking me today, if I am forced to pick a team in the AFC, I may be picking the Buffalo Bills because they have the best player. I mean, it is wide open.
I would say the Patriots can beat anybody in this playoff stack. And they can just as easily lose to everybody in this playoff stack because there isn't a massive difference between the Texans and the Broncos, right? They're just strengths of their football team are maybe a little different. So here's the scary thing right now is that it would be Patriots, Bills, it would be Patriots, Texans, Jaguars, Bills, Steelers, Chargers. So you would bring in a great defensive team, but boy, do I have big confidence that, especially with Milton Williams back, Houston would come up here and do nothing offensively, Jay. So I feel good about them. I would love to avoid the Bills until a divisional round. The Chargers offensive line is going to wilt in the playoffs. And whomever wins that AFC North, I think if they're matched up against the Chargers, they can really get after that group in front of Justin Herbert. I have to throw something back at you. You're in Florida. Where are you at on the Jaguars? Record looks good, 10-4, but we've been here with this team before where they've been good enough to go to a divisional round, and then you'd be like, now all the flaws get exposed.
I think with Jacksonville, they're going to have a similar opportunity to show me something as the Green Bay Packers did last week going to Mile High. I think if Jacksonville goes to Denver and plays a super competitive game, I really will believe in them. They've overachieved in my estimation. I think Liam Cohen's done a much more good than bad. I think he's got through some rocky stuff. We talked about Jacoby Myers being a real good asset and Trevor Lawrence, right? A few weeks ago, I said, all right, that's it. Trevor Lawrence, he's done. He's never going to make it in this league. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'd be done with him. And I bet on him to throw an interception that week because he makes mistakes every week. For the last 3 weeks, I think he's made no mistakes. I think he was responsible for 5 or 6 touchdowns last week. And so if he can eliminate the mistakes, and Liam Cohen, who's been tough with him on the sidelines and not been afraid to break eggs to make an omelet on the sidelines with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe he's gotten to him in the right way because Trevor Lawrence seems to be playing free. So I maybe am a believer in that team, partly because of how wide open the conference is.
Yeah, you make a great point on the way Liam has handled Trevor Lawrence. Mark Whipple, his old head coach, an old offensive coordinator in the NFL and quarterback coach, rode Liam hard when Liam played quarterback for him at UMass. So you can understand there's some, he got brought up by a guy who was a pro, knows how to treat these guys and maybe get to the QB, like you said. Hey Jay, on the NFC side, I know you and I never really focused that much on the NFC, but are there teams in the NFC side of the bracket that the Patriots can't beat, or you think it's a massive uphill climb for them to beat this particular team?
Yeah, I do. I think most certainly the Rams. I like that. I don't believe in the Seahawks as much as everybody else. So that team, I believe they could match up pretty well against, right? Rams, Philadelphia scares me, and San Francisco absolutely scares me from the Patriots. So those are the three teams: LA Rams, Philadelphia Eagles, and San Francisco 49ers. I just don't like the matchups. But ultimately, yeah, like the Bears, I think they could match up well against. But I do believe this year the NFC is superior. But if Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are walking through representing the AFC, I think if I'm an AFC fan, that's our best chance, in my opinion. But I still think the jury's out on the Patriots. They're not healthy. And if they're able to get healthy, I do believe they can do some things. And Drake May, this might have been what he needed, is to really be exposed in certain components. So
I think you nailed it in terms of look, I'm not a huge McVay guy. I think if you're physical against the Rams, you have a great chance of beating them, because I don't think they want to stand. They don't want to fight toe to toe. They want to try to go over the top and play finesse and stuff like that. But boy, the Eagles and the 49ers, Jay, I think they're terrible matchups for New England, even if they're healthy with Big Milt in there, just because of the different ways they can run the ball and the fact that their quarterback in different ways is a factor. If Philadelphia would give Jalen Hurts more runs, I really believe it opens up their offense. And I don't want to say makes them unstoppable, but good Lord, if you have to factor in Jalen Hurts the way you do, say, Lamar Jackson, like with Purdy, it's more, I'll slice and dice you and throw it where my coach wants me to, and then I'll run on third down and make a play, and then I'll stand back there again. Whereas if you turn Jalen Hurts loose and you allow him to run the ball 10 times and a half or something like that, that's where, to me, you have a massive advantage with that Philadelphia team, where even with the Patriots hard playing safeties, I think it would be tough to stop. Those are the 49ers and the Eagles are the two teams that if they both end up going all the way, we'll be praising to Jesus that the Patriots made it, and then, moaning that these two teams might run right at them and not be afraid of them.
Oh, I hear on all of that, and I'll say, you don't have a play in our picks on the Thursday night game, tomorrow's game, Rams Seahawks, right? I thought about going Seattle, but I backed off of that. Yeah. I don't trust Sam Darnold. I'm with you. Like, I like everything. If Stafford were on Seattle, I'd like them a hell of a lot more than I like Stafford in the Rams' chances. You know what I mean? I agree. It's all about the quarterback position to me. Why 100%. I like the Rams over the Seahawks. And Devontae Adams may not play, and forgive me, my voice a little shaky today. But Joe Osborne at JTFOZ on X has a great tweet about loving the Rams. He's a super sharp handicapper. I'm going to be playing the Rams. I didn't put it in my picks for the show, but I'm definitely going to be playing the Rams. And I know in that we were head-to-head on this show in our podium picks on that Rams Seahawks game last time. And the Rams won, but you had Seattle plus 2.5 and you got in, but a lot of folks believe Seattle outplayed them. Darnold, I think, had 4 picks. So it'll be interesting, but I like this spot for the Rams, and the Seahawks have been much better on the road, interestingly enough, under Mike McDonald. So we'll see what happens. Had a tough time beating Old Man Rivers and company last week. So we'll see what happens,
by the way,
tomorrow night.
How about that? Just to stop down for a quick second, folks. So this is the truest Uncle Rico moment that you can have in sports. Here's a 45-year-old man who has a daughter who is the same age of the quarterback that he is in front of in the Indianapolis Colts quarterback room. Riley Leonard, I think, is 24 years old. Phil Rivers' oldest daughter is 23. He's a pop. And this guy comes off the couch and throws for like 140 yards and a touchdown. And the Colts go to Seattle and get a win. And Philip Rivers didn't die. He didn't break. Like, I thought he was going to get smashed, to get broken in half, because he looks like fucking Ichabod Crane out there hobbling around.
Well,
like,
his
goddamn,
fat suit helped him not get banged up.
But he could throw that underneath route for the touchdown, and the kids that he coaches are like all at a watch party, and they're all cheering. 45 years old. This is the equivalent of your beer league softball player getting the call from the old general manager to come back and play.
No, it was absolutely amazing, and he was super emotional after the game. Big spot against the 49ers. Colts still have a chance to make the playoffs. I know we'll get to that game later, but it is just so fascinating to me because clearly he's not, I say this with respect, exercising on a regular basis. You know what I mean? He was significantly heavier than he was during his career, but I couldn't help but think about Tom Brady. Do you know what I mean? Or even a guy like Aaron Rodgers who might take a peek at that and be like, you know what? Like, Aaron Rodgers looks to me like he's getting better as the season goes along. Not unlike, I think, NBA players, you get in basketball shape. Oh, he looks a little better there. But I love how he swiped Daniel Jones, number 17, right back too.
Well, and I'll tell you this too. They wear the like flak jackets underneath the rib protectors. I think he had like double the protection on underneath. Like his jersey looked massively big. Nowadays in the NFL, the linemen want them like snug to where you can't grab anything. Meanwhile, this guy's got he's like a peewee footballer who's too small, and they gave him the smallest shirt they got, but it's still flapping in the wind whenever he's out there hopping around. But it really is amazing. Like, you know, like I've caught a football from Zolak before, right? And if you've ever caught a football from a pro quarterback, this is hilarious how fat they make him in Madden. It's awesome. He looks like Jared Lorenzen, not Phil Rivers. But when you catch a ball from a pro, it whistles into your hand, right? And then it's supposed to stop, and that's how you know somebody's got. So if you hear it go thud, they got lineman hands, right? When Troy Brown was out there catching them, you heard the whistling, and it would just stop, and you would never know anybody caught a ball. Like at that level, 45 years old, and he's still out there whistling the ball. That's the other thing too, whistling that thing.
I believe
it. If Brady wanted to, Jay, he totally could still be playing.
100%. All right. Before we get to our podium picks, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to do the same for myself without giving it much thought. AFC champion as of today, December 17th, forced to choose. I'll go Buffalo Bills while you think. I just think ultimately in a wide open field, the cream is going to rise.
I think the Ravens.
Isn't it amazing? Right? Still
I
there.
go back to the Ravens because I think about the path. I think of who's in front of them. This is when you really think about it, right? So Mahomes out of the playoffs, and that injury is, terrible for them, but it forces Kansas City to have to make some tough decisions. But, you look at Indianapolis loses their quarterback. Who knows whether other injuries happen down the stretch. I feel like, Jay, the Ravens are kind of peaking and going this way. And look at who they might match up against in the second round of the playoffs. It would be all unproven teams. It would be the rare time where Buffalo and Baltimore they're not going up against someone who has as much playoff experience against them. We know what happened to Baltimore and Kansas City last year. But if it's the Jaguars on the other end of that, or even our Patriots on the other end of that, if you're Baltimore, you've been there, done that. You know how to battle in those moments. And I don't know. I picked them at the beginning of the year, and it's not the whole I'm being stubborn and sticking with it. I just think there's a peaking element to them, and there's no Uber team in the AFC right now.
NFC?
I still think Philadelphia is going to find a way to get there.
Wow.
I still think
they're going back to back. Wow.
Well, because Tampa, very flawed, right?
Yeah.
Seattle, you don't trust the quarterback. I know the Rams are the Rams, but I think you can be physical. I think San Francisco or Philadelphia give the Rams all they can handle. I do not trust Caleb Williams at all, and even less do I trust Jordan Love, especially now that Parsons is out and they don't have their chess piece. if that board stays the way it is right now, it's kind of the same thing. Philly and San Fran, who have big experience, will battle it out to go against Chicago or Green Bay, who have very little. And then they end up in that NFC championship game, probably against the Rams. And then all bets are off at that point because San Francisco and Philadelphia are they've dealt with the Rams before.
Yeah, I'll go with the Rams. I think if the Rams stay healthy, they're just the class and the team to beat. All right, let's move on. Topic 4, our podium picks. We bring you every week. We've been doing this since week 7. We each make 3 picks against the spread. Our best bet is our gold medal pick. We go down silver and bronze.
Kudos
gold
to
medal
you.
selection. Gold medal selection's worth. All right. We'll get to that. Gold medal selection worth 3 points. Silver medal worth 2. Bronze worth 1. So Gresh remains hot, right? So Gresh, you hit 2 out of 3 games. I hit all 3. So we're 5 out of 6 last week, right? You're 18-9 on the season. I got above 500 now, 14-11-2. So what I will say is this league is pretty tough to handicap against the spread. And when you give your best bets like we have been, we've done pretty well over the last several weeks. You've been consistent all the way throughout. I was pretty deep in a hole. I've had a lot of bad beats, so we'll take it. Pretty good week. What I will say is that your silver medal play, right, where you had the Panthers -2.5, they lose to New Orleans. Yes, unhappy with that, but I think your gold medal play, which I took in my sportsbook, 49ers -12.5, is a tremendously good beat, getting that late field goal for the cover. That is a backdoor cover if there ever was one. So if we're going to bemoan the bad beat with the silver medal, which isn't even a bad beat, that is a great beat on the 49ers cover, in my opinion. So we got to take the good luck with the bad.
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing ESPN radio, and the guy I was working with, John Michaels out of Atlanta. We were both on the 49ers. And when they went up, whatever, it was like 31-10 or something like that, we kind of tuned out. And then all of a sudden we go to break and Michaels goes, dude, they just kicked the field goal to cover this back up. And I go, wait, they blew it. Like I was so convinced that the 49ers were good. I tuned it out. I didn't even think about it. And then I came back to it and found out, holy crap. It ended up being a backdoor, a dicey backdoor cover whenever it was all said and done. I thought about moving the Broncos against Green Bay up to gold medal status last week. Devastating for Green Bay to lose Parsons. There's no way they replace that guy. That really kills their Super Bowl chances.
I agree. We'll get into that. I certainly may have a play on that game. So as we move forward, you have 39 points. I have 28 points. The loser has to do a power hour, which is inevitably going to be me. Even I have to absolutely crush it here. The scoring system doesn't give me much chance here, but the loser does a power hour in the last episode of the season, which is a shot of beer every minute for an hour. And I will say, I almost want to lose for that reason, because I just think it should be me doing that. Anyway. All right, let's move it on. Your bronze medal selection, Gresh, week 16.
This was a tough week, admittedly. This is, you're starting to get into injury issues and all kinds of stuff, but I just trusted the Cleveland Browns are going to suck, and the Bills, at least offensively, found enough to be able to score 35 on Cleveland, and I trust that Shedeur Sanders will do the rest to give the Bills a 10-point win. Do I feel great about 10? No, because of the backdoor cover thing you just talked about. But I trust that if the Bills need to score 50, they'll do it to win.
I like it very much. I'm on the same side if forced to play. What I will tell you is, after being at Universal Studios last Sunday with all the Disney adults instead of watching football, I can't wait to watch football this weekend, right? And I want to root against the Bills so badly that I couldn't put any flow. I didn't want to have any Bills action anywhere, if I'm being honest. I want to root for some just crazy weather or some, magic to happen for the Browns bouncing back. I don't see it happening. I like that side as well. My bronze medal selection, you talk about Micah Parsons. I'm going to take the Bears plus 1.5 home versus the Packers. So 2 weeks ago they played, and if you recall, we talked about that game. The Bears did. I lost that game by a hook. I took the 6.5. They lost by 7. But the Bears in the second half did whatever they wanted on every possession, and that was with Micah Parsons. He's not there. I just think that locker room has to be deflated. And I think the Bears are a pretty confident team. On the Packer side, Christian Watson banged up. I don't know if he's playing. That's a tough loss last week for the Packers at Denver. And I think one loss may become two here. There's a reason why it's my third best play, but I think the Bears win this game. So I'm going to take the Bears plus 1.5 for my bronze medal selection.
Yeah, the line almost feels flipped, doesn't it? Didn't the Bears should be a 1.5 point favorite against Green Bay? So, it makes me wonder what kind of history there is there. But you would think it would be a race because of the new head coach in Chicago. Yeah, that's an interesting line because I think everything you say makes sense. I don't know how Green Bay can't be a little deflated given the fact that they've lost Parsons, and this should be a game that Green Bay should be motivated for, considering it's in division, and yet it's the Bears plus 1.5. That just feels weird to me.
And the odds makers certainly think the Packers are the better team, but another odd that jumped out at me, I don't think either one of us is on it, but it's similar and it sort of dovetails with the point you're making. Chargers plus 1.5 at the Cowboys to me. I had to look long and hard there and even some of the against the spread numbers, Chargers, I think been good on the road, but I had to look long and hard at that line. I do like the Chargers. Cowboys though last week were eliminated from postseason contention, playing against a team that had already been eliminated. So I don't know. That line shocked me a little bit. But I think maybe it points to some of the injuries on the Chargers offensive line.
Chargers O-line's got some issues. My silver medal play, and Jay, you and I have texted about this privately in terms of us doing this challenge. I want to nail them all. I don't normally play the hunch, but there's a little hunch in this one. Give me the Titans plus 3.5 at Kansas City. Here's the theory. When's the last time Kansas City played a real game without Mahomes? It's been forever. They're not going to – I think offensively they're going to be a bit of a mess. What's the motivation for those Kansas City guys to go play? If you're Travis Kelce, I mean, you're 3 weeks away from making billion-dollar babies. Why are you going to go out there and drop your nuts without Mahomes? I just think Kansas City offensively looks completely lost, and the Titans play – hard enough with 3 and a hook to maybe keep it to within that. No, I don't know. I just think KC falls apart here, Jay.
Last week, I agreed with all of your plays. I think the week before I did as well. I couldn't agree with you more. And if there was ever a spot, right, where owner, general manager, head coach, I'm talking about the Chiefs, get in a room and say, hey, can we find a way to lose these last few games and improve our draft stock and not have anybody else get injured? And your point about Travis Kelce, do you want to be rehabbing all summer instead of being with Taylor Swift going wherever you're going, and right. As you lead in, you're like, I believe if there's, I believe you're going to see backside of this roster. I think the snap counts, I don't see any reason for the Chiefs to jeopardize anything here. I like the Titans maybe to win the game. So throwing it in a pick on gas, I love that side. Like what you did there. My silver medal selection, I'm going with the New Orleans Saints minus 4.5 versus the Jets. This is a little bit of a Jets fade as well. Saints have won 2 straight division games at Tampa Bay and then home to Carolina last week. Tyler Shuck's looking pretty good, looking like he sort of wants to be the guy perhaps. I like Kellen Moore. Jets fired Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator, and I think Brady Cook is probably going to start. And with 5 picks in 2 games, I think that bodes well. I think Kellen Moore wants to win. So I think the Saints are going to win the game. I think they get the cover here. So yeah, I like this bet quite a lot, actually. I think the Saints probably are trying to win the game.
And if there was any chatter in New Orleans internally about trying to get the highest pick they can, yesterday, Arch Manning said he's going back to Texas. And if you're New Orleans, that's the guy you would, I think, would sell out for, given what the Manning name means in that particular city. But yeah, the Saints they're more than frisky. That Tyler Shuck has been okay. And I mean, I'm with you. There's no reason to trust the Jets at all. I mean, at all. They're going down to the experimental quarterback just to make sure they're either number 1 or number 2. They're trying to outsuck the Giants, which is going to be pretty hard.
I agree. All right, Gresh. So you've been on fire. I root for you, even though I need you to lose one to be in this. So what is your gold medal selection week 16?
If I may be 100% honest here, your gold medal pick is the one that I had written down originally. But I always have another, what I would feel like gold star selection, because I don't really dig us crossing over.
But you could have slid it down.
No, I could have, but I just took the Eagles out because I like the 49ers -6 against Indy. It was a great story for 1 week with Phil Rivers. Now, if you're the 49ers, you are mobile, agile, hostile. You can play way more aggressively against Indianapolis. All you have to do is win that turnover battle. That's the biggest thing for Brock Purdy. Don't give the ball to the other damn team. You do that, Niners go in there and play defense. I think Indy gets damn near skunked. I don't know what the old man's going to do whenever they bring that 49er pressure, but God bless Phil Rivers this week.
I feel like we're going to have the exact same conversation we had with your gold medal selection on the 49ers last week. I love it as much, if not more. And what's interesting is you talk about that sort of 49ers almost not covering last week. You know, they probably went into a little bit of shutdown mode in the second half of that game, and that can be a piece of it. So I do believe they'll be raring and ready to go. And if you don't think Phillip Rivers can just be exposed in week 2 in a way that he wasn't in week 1. You get a little bit of pressure on him. You know, they're having a tough time getting Jonathan Taylor loose as they were early in the season. I just think the Colts are a sinking ship despite that emotional high. I think there's an emotional letdown. I love the 49ers there. My gold medal selection, Eagles, you alluded to. Gave it away, Gresh. Now -6.5 at the Commanders. I mean, I really don't have much to say. You said that you think the Eagles are your NFC pick. They take care of the Raiders 31-0, I believe, last week. Jaden Daniels been shut down. It's Marcus Mariota. We got it. We got the pronunciation for you. I just think the Commanders, I understand they do some things here and there, but I think Philly absolutely needs to handle their business. I think they know how tough the conference is. They know how difficult it is to go back to back. And I just think you have teams going in different directions. I love Philly in this spot.
You would think that Washington at 4 and whatever would be the more desperate team, but the more desperate team is actually Philadelphia, and they're the better team in this spot. And the other team's got, Washington's got a million things going wrong with them right now, including Daniels being shut down. Jay, I uber love this pick. I really think Philadelphia is in a great spot here to get a very nice, comfortable win where their fans are going to travel too. That's the other thing about Philadelphia. Like, I know everybody travels to LA, and it's almost like every road team, it almost sounds like a home game whenever they're playing out in LA, but those Eagles fans are going to get on that Acela and get down to Washington, and I'm sure raise some hell down there, just like I expect the Eagles to do on the field.
I agree. So if you want to tail the picks, I mean, we're combined 12 games over 500 in about 8 weeks. Pretty good clip. And Gresh, I will say, right, I would challenge you to, in the future, I like it if we have crossover, because I think it's interesting, right? There was one show where I think we both had a silver medal the same, but nothing else the same. So I think based on the format, it's fascinating for me and I make sure I don't look at your picks. So what I will say is that, so in the future, you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? But, and maybe the 49ers hits and Philly doesn't, and it'll be a shrewd move. But I find it very interesting sometimes when we end up on the same side, when we don't look, because I think when we've been on the same side, I think we've done quite well.
We've done well. Yeah. I and a lot of it for me too is, the mean internet streets, I'm sure, might come at me and say, you're protecting a lead by rolling with the same gold medal pick as you. There is the points part of it too, that I do really like and enjoy. And I would kind of feel like, that would feel four corners defense if we both had the same gold medal pick with only 2 more weeks to go.
Now I actually am starting to get competitive. So that's fine. We'll see what happens. But that's really all I got. I'm really gonna be interested to see what happens with the New England Patriots. And you know that I'm a happiness hedge guy.
Okay.
So if you don't think that I will be heavily invested in the Baltimore Ravens -155, you got another thing coming. That'll be heavy.
All right. So you and I have we haven't dived into this, but we have like 5 minutes, so we might as well do it now. Mahomes is hurt. He had surgery. There is a chance he is ready for the beginning of the 2026 season. Now, since I know I'm just laying this on you, let me give you some things to think about here quickly. They're missing the playoffs. Andy Reid is going to be 68 years old. does he pull the ripcord and say, this is the perfect time for me to get out of here? Because if I'm the general manager, Brett Veach, I'm going to Andy Reid and saying, what are you here for a while or not? Because it's going to depend on how you build the football team. So I think the general manager's got to get an answer from the head coach as to, are you here 3 years? Are you here 5 years? Are you going to be here another decade? Are you going to be like Belichick? Or are you going to go be a human being at some point? And I think in Kansas City, that injury forces a deeper sort of thought process on where they're going moving forward. And I think a lot of people are missing the boat on this because it's like, well, you get Mahomes back, you'll be fine. They got cap issues. They're old. They got to replace Kelsey. Andy Reid ain't going to be around forever. There's a lot that this is a big, I think, real crossroads in terms of a team that everybody just thinks is going to pick back up and have Dynasty 2.0 again because they have Mahomes.
You know, I really, you're going to be surprised to hear me say it, but I think in a way, in an everything happens for a reason type way, I think this is a blessing, this sort of reset button. I really do believe that. We could talk about injuries for days. Look at Stephon Diggs coming back off the ACL, right? I've gotten into a lot of arguments about Jason Tatum because I believe he should play when he's ready to play in modern medicine in 2025. He's just as likely to hurt it practicing hard because he's 3 months away, whatever it may be. So I believe that Mahomes, I was going to be looking at Super Bowl odds for the Chiefs even next season because I believe you're going to get a healthier Mahomes. Oh, they're going to clean up that LCL. That's been probably banged up for a while too. I just think the reset button is good. Your points about the roster are very well taken. I think the Andy Reid conversation is a good one. But I absolutely believe that this is sort of a sort of funky little reset button that's going to rejuvenate Mahomes in a way. You heard some of Brady's comments about getting after the rehabilitation so that you can begin training for football again. Whether it's week 2, 3, 4 next year, the Chiefs are going to be a dark horse team that I peek at next year if they can get the roster stuff right. So for me, I actually think this season wasn't going anywhere anyway, and this can be sort of a little bit of a curveball that gets them focused in a way that maybe they wouldn't have been if it had just been sort of a ho-hum.
No, that's interesting because they probably just would have, hey, let's go trade a pick for a veteran tight end and let's just try to keep rolling. But, Jawan Taylor's got a year left on his deal. Chris Jones is 32. They've never really rebuilt the running game. Now, here's what's interesting. If Joe Burrow really is available, or here's what I think might happen. We know Sean McVay loves quarterbacks, right? And the true genius, the truth of being a genius is to go trade for guys who are Hall of Famers and be really smart. But if you're the Rams, Jay, they have Atlanta's first-round pick. Do you take 2 firsts, really 3 first-round picks if you're the Rams, and either Stafford or someone, and send it to Cincinnati to try to pull Burrow so that McVay's got his guy for a decade? And if you're Cincinnati, you're maximizing the asset because if Joe Burrow wants to become a pain in the ass, he could really make life miserable for Cincinnati given his cap number.
I mean, unless you're going to take one of those receivers with you. I mean, like the idea that Chase and Higgins are signed, right? And I would run far away from Hendrickson if I were the Bengals. But no, I wouldn't let Joe Burrow walk out of that door unless he's walking into the Hall of Fame if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. So, but yeah, from a Rams standpoint, sure.
Yeah, no, I love it that you said that about Cincinnati because as long as they're built that way, they're going nowhere. So I love it that a great quarterback is in a terrible spot because of a flawed thought process. They're not let the O-line suffer and see about getting those balls to those wide receivers. That's why Cincinnati's in the spot they're in. Like, I want to take them seriously because of Burrow, but you can't take them seriously as championship contenders because they are a flawed and incomplete football team, even more than the Bills.
Oh, I agree. One final point I'll make about the Bengals, right? And forgive me, I was at, Disney World, so I didn't really ingest a lot of that game. But when I look at that team and that organization, and, you have an organization like the Patriots where it's like Super Bowl or bust. The Bengals did get there, right? Like Josh Allen hasn't got there. The Bengals did get there. I believe in Joe Burrow as a leader unequivocally, right? But that defense was one of the worst defenses we've ever seen all season. It's just incredible to me. So ultimately, I'd be trying to sort of maybe move T. Higgins if he's willing, or sort of get creative like that to try and flip something. But Joe Burrow, that game against Buffalo, when they were winning and looking like they were still actually going to be in the mix, and then everything went wrong, he threw 2 bad picks. It almost seems like maybe he was disinterested last week, yet they possessed the ball for 40 minutes. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, Cincinnati is a tough team to figure out. Burrow is as well. Make sure you follow the Last Man Standing show on YouTube and other platforms. Dirty Boxing coming back, a show in January and a show announced in February as well. Check me out on actually I got ESPN Radio tomorrow, Infinity Sports Network for what time it has left on Friday. And then Saturday morning on Mad Dog Sports Radio, where we'll have at least one college football playoff game to talk about because Bama and Oklahoma play Friday night. So a little Friday night watching. Oh, hey. And just quickly for those, if you are a fan of the Knicks and you got a boner over the NBA Cup and winning that last night, you really need to have your head examined.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I will say the Knicks are going to really make a run this year. So
yeah,
as a Celtics fan, yeah, I agree. That coaching change, I think, has made a huge difference.
I was going to say that's the one thing I'd be betting on in the postseason is that the coaching change will ultimately catch up to them as it has in other teams past.
Ooh,
well, that and also JT coming back soon, hopefully. Please, JT, get back. I'll even deal with seeing the annoying kid on the sideline all the time because it's way too much. Anyway, that's it for us. Great job by Cody Merrow at Cody_Merrow on Twitter. Make sure you give our guy Bone a follow. For Jay Anik, I'm Gresh. We'll see you next week on Gas.